Could you check the levels again, please?
What's the waveform?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of This Is My Bourbon podcast, where we talk about the spirit of Kentucky. My name's Perry. Thank you so much for being here. I ran out of breath.
That was a big inhale. Perry, being here, and then the entire gust of wind.
Yeah. Well, I ran out of... I didn't take a big enough breath to lead into that really long sentence. Anyway, with me this week is half of the Sleepy Boys home base co-host, Mr. Tanner Chaney himself.
Some would say the better half.
You know what's funny? This is the second week in a row where I've had half of one group of people on, and both of you guys have said the better half.
Good.
That's fantastic.
Glad.
It's like inadvertent...
synchronicity?
Or continuity.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome, Tanner.
Thanks.
Hey.
I'm happy to be back, I guess. Hi.
So, first pour of the episode goes to what we've been talking about with Tanner for a really long time. I mean, multiple times we've been like, hey, you really need to try this. It's not the Angel's Envy Rye.
It's not.
Which I thought about doing tonight, but we'll wait until Kurt comes back on, too. It's the that bottle of Henry McKenna that Kurt and I have been swooning over for a good few months now.
I think he might calls it Minry Hakenna.
Minry Hakenna?
Yeah, like drunkenly. He's just like,
H-Mac?
make some... Oh, H-Mac's good. That's like the bourbon guys who come in like the big white unmarked vans.
Yeah.
They're H-Mac. That's an HVAC joke for you. Off to a good start.
I'm tired, so some jokes don't land.
It's okay.
You know, I feel like we're always tired recording this show.
Yeah, well, we record at the end of the day on a weekday. I'm just getting off of work. Yeah.
Someday, and we've been saying this for forever too. Someday we do need to do like a day
string of shows.
Yeah, like all in one day. And I know that by the third or fourth episode, however many we get to, it's going to be silly.
Be a mess.
But I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that might have to be like a bonus episode some week or something.
Sure.
But anyway, speaking of bonus episodes, not this past episode, because this is coming out a week after we record. Not this last one with Chad, but yeah. Hey, Future Perry. Have fun editing this one. I can already sense that it's going to be...
It's going to be a fun one.
We did a bonus episode where we reviewed Blanton's Gold, which was in tandem with our episode where we reviewed Blanton Straight from the Barrel. So if you have not checked that out, please go and do so. But I just want to say up front, too, we've had, like, incredible numbers for listenership recently.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, like, we're maintaining, like, 1,000 downloads per 30 days.
Wow.
Which is, like, crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's not something that I ever thought was going to happen. And, like, let me pull up the stats. Like, last 7 days, we've had, like, just shy of 325 downloads.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, thank you guys so much for listening. I mean, it is crazy just to see numbers like that consistently, too. But anyway, in that spirit, keep making spirit jokes. I'm gonna say cheers.
It's a good burp pun. You just made it.
And I hope this lives up to all of your wildest expectations.
Yeah, I didn't smell it first, so I'm not drinking it.
Well, the palate definitely lives up for me.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's pretty good.
It's very different from every bottle of Henry McKenna that I've had before. In that most McKenna bottles, they don't quite have like the evolution that this does. Where this just kind of like continuously rolls over the tongue.
Yeah.
And it's like constantly evolving and exploding, and is just so smooth and sorry, but it just has these incredible like earthy notes to it on the back end, which like you don't find with too many bottles of Henry McKenna. What do you think about it?
I think it's very good. It's very cinnamony. in a way I didn't expect.
Definitely.
It's got a lot of that. I mean, it's got a lot of classic bourbon flavors, but it's also got a strong hint of like a cinnamon or just like allspice almost, just like some very spicy, not in a hot sense.
Oh, it's very like baked goods.
Yeah, very seasoned.
And I mean, there's just so much going on that it's so hard to like pin one thing down and be like, but I love it. I mean, I'm super happy with it. I forgot to turn the lights on in here. We'll get to it.
It's a moody episode.
Yeah. We'll get to it in a few.
After dark.
I don't remember. See, the nose, I think, is probably the weak point for me. Because it doesn't quite lead into... Yeah,
it's sort of like a standard nose, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is a bourbon nose.
But it makes me enjoy the palate more, though.
It's a little bit more surprising.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I really wasn't expecting the palate to be that good based on, what the nose was like.
Sure.
Anyway, so I hope that your expectations were...
No, yeah. I mean, you guys have hyped it up so much that I don't think I can say anything that tops it. But it does live up. I've had Henry McKenna before, and that, like you said, is the best Henry McKenna I've had.
Yeah, and it's so weird that it's off... not off palate, but just kind of off. Yeah.
It's subversive almost.
Yeah, it is. In that, like, it just doesn't line up with everything. And it's a single barrel bourbon, but usually they have things that they check off. Cats just. We're also babysitting the animals.
Yeah.
So, usually, they go in, if they're trying a single barrel, they have things that they check off in terms of like, oh, it has to have, so many different things that live up to what people expect and
right.
what, the consistency of the product that we're putting out. And this is just like above and beyond.
Yeah. Sorry, I was nodding and I realized it's not even format.
It's all good. So I told you earlier today I wanted to ask you this question.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I want to have a conversation about it, and it's not bourbon related at all.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it. Have you seen the trailer for the Cobra Kai show?
Yes, I sure have. As soon as you sent it to me, I was like, maybe this is an offshoot. And it's not. You're talking about the revival.
I am talking about the revival for
the one, the only Karate Kid. Actually, there are two, so it is not the one, the only.
The original.
Yes.
Yeah. OG. How do you feel about it?
I don't know, because I saw this a couple of months ago, I want to say, and it's a YouTube Red thing, right? Mm-hmm. Is a show?
Yes.
Okay, so the first trailer I saw for it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear if it was a movie or a show. I don't know if you've seen different trailers or it's the same one. But I thought for a minute it was going to be like a prequel.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, I'm all right with this. Like, see how this comes to power. But the
prequel that nobody was asking for, and is
I really want to see Cobra Kai's rise to dominance. But the idea of both of those characters opening their own dojos and then competing, it's all going to be in delivery, right?
I'm shaking my head.
Part of me thinks that it could work if it's self-referential enough.
Sure, yeah, fan service,
right?
Like
and maybe even a little meta. Maybe it gets a little bit like, you sure look old or something like that. You know what I mean? Like things like that.
Well, it's definitely been 30 years since we've last seen each other.
Exactly. Like, wow, it's only been 15 years. Wink, nod. Yeah.
My thing with it, and I'm stealing this. I can't remember exactly who said it, but it put into words exactly how I felt. It looks like a Funny or Die sketch without the jokes.
Yeah, it looks like it does. It looks like an SNL parody.
It doesn't look like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, it looks like a digital short.
And like, I'm not a big fan of the Karate Kid.
I think the original Karate Kid's great.
Yeah, I mean it's really
a
good.
Fun movie.
But it's nothing that like I don't clamor over it. I don't put it in like a top 10 list or anything.
Sure.
But there are those people who just think that it's it's a testament of filmmaking at the time and like it holds up and everything. And I don't feel that way about it.
It is a movie that is fun as the main point.
Yeah,
and therefore it's not gonna. It delivers in fun. It is a fun film.
Absolutely.
It is. I'm the same way. It is never for me going to be like, well, that is a top 10 movie because it's not doing anything creative. It's not doing anything. I mean, it is a genre movie. Sure, it's in karate, but like there's some classic lines. The best, of course, being "Get him a body bag" because that guy's amazing. Actually, that's a fun thing to watch. That entire tournament, just that one guy, he yells some of the
just see how
stuff. He's basically
yeah.
just a heckler. It's great. That again, the movie's great, but I don't think. I'm of the mind that we don't need to remake literally everything. I think most people are, which is interesting because they keep making lots of money. I think that the remakes we choose, I would let's say this. Well, this isn't really a remake. This is a continuation. Whatever. Call it what you want.
Yeah.
The revival of an old property.
Yeah.
This revival doesn't offend me that much because it's not that serious of a movie to begin with.
Fair. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But it just seems like
I don't find Karate Kid sacred. And if it that went out the window with Jaden Smith.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think it's whatever.
And it is kind of strange. There, 2 points I want to make. The first one is that it is kind of strange that I mean, I kind of get the feeling that they saw the Jaden Smith Karate Kid movie and they were like, "Hey, I really miss those old days, don't you, Ralph Macchio?" And he was like,
"Sure,
I guess, but make me a car salesman."
Yeah.
And the other point is that I was listening to my buddy Bill Sheehy, who was on the show when we did our Star Wars episode. His podcast, The Resistance Broadcast, which is all about Star Wars. They're talking about how there's kind of a window that gets closed if you've waited too long to do a thing, like a new thing based on the original thing that happened. Like, and I feel like 30 years is about like
right.
the
Like
ceiling.
when does a sequel become like a revival?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to label this, and it just feels
it's not a sequel. And there were sequels. There were like
exactly.
Karate Kid 2, 3, and 4. I think.
I don't know if there was 4. I know for sure there was 2 and 3.
2
if
was
there were a way to look it up.
2 was Macchio and oh my goodness, I'm blanking on he's like sensei. What was his sensei's name?
Oh, Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, Miyagi.
Pat
when
Morita.
They went to what?
Pat Morita. I was just saying.
Oh yeah, his real name. Yeah. So they go back to Japan, I think.
Okay, so
in 2,
so
that's with Macchio, and then 3 was the girl.
4 was the girl.
4 is the girl.
Yeah, the next.
So is 3 Macchio too?
3 is Macchio too. So the first 3 are,
never seen 3 then.
Macchio. I can't believe that we're getting this far into the conversation.
Yeah.
But the next Karate Kid, which is the 4th one in the series, still had Pat Morita, didn't have Ralph Macchio, and it was the one with the girl.
Who was the girl?
Hilary Swank.
That's what I thought.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I was gonna say that, and I
have I
didn't
not
want to
seen
blank
this?
on that. It's a young Hilary Swank.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's like 12 or 13 probably.
Yeah.
She's really young.
Okay, well, anyway.
Not as good as $1 Million Baby. Although kind of similar premise in a weird way.
In a very strange way, yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about
similar
that.
endings.
Well, anyway, I wanted to establish our thoughts about something that is completely
I'm fine with
unbourbon
it,
related
whatever.
here on yeah.
That's my feeling.
Okay, so I have to ask you the opener question though. What you been drinking recently?
So, only things with numbers has been the joke in my apartment. 1783 and 1792.
Okay,
that's all I've been really drinking.
So the same from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
too.
I haven't really drank in the past couple of weeks. Just I don't know, just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah,
not that I was like disliking it,
I
but just busy and doing other things.
And that'll lead kind of into our our topic too for today.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna go into what I've been drinking, but if you have more,
okay. No, go for it.
Let me see. I finished off a bottle of Weller 107 last night. And by the way, I just want to say I have a display of bottles on the table today for recording purposes. We don't have to have everything. I was kind of just saying, hey, I put it out just kind of as options.
Right.
I didn't really know what we were going to review. So anyway, the Weller products for me are always kind of a go-to. So I've been enjoying a lot of that. I think I also finished a bottle of Buffalo Trace last night, I think. Yeah, I did. It was a very strange night. We had tornado warnings out in Central Kentucky, and an F1 touchdown
Did it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Grant County, I think. This is stuff people
Real in the weeds.
Nobody cares about.
No.
Those listening outside of Kentucky, but
It was an awesome night last night, like weather-wise.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Felt so good.
Yeah, and I mean, it was great. Like sitting out on your porch drinking bourbon weather, which is exactly what I did. I put a picture up of it on Instagram. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I've been drinking recently. There's not been anything really stand out that I've had. But anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our topic.
Yep.
Which is getting burnt out on bourbon. Which for me, like, it hasn't happened in a while. But it has before, and of course I came back to it.
Sure.
After a while.
Like a jilted lover.
What gets you burnt out about bourbon?
I'm just picturing burnt, spelled Bournt.
Like Jason Bourne, but
yeah, Jason Bourne.
Bourne.
It's the reboot of the reboot. No, what gets me burned about bourbon was what I almost said.
What gets me burned?
What gets me burned? No, what gets me burnt out is just sort of. I don't know if it's bourbon in particular. I don't know if it's like, after a night of more amorous bourbon drinking. I don't think it's like I had bourbon last night, I don't want to have it again, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more a long-term thing, and I think it's not even really related to bourbon. Like right now I'm going through a stretch where like I haven't really drank for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. And not that that's like an aversion to bourbon, it's just nothing that's like, man, I really want to drink this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a beer here and there, maybe a cocktail here and there, but like nothing substantial to where I'm like, I really, really want to drink this. With bourbon in particular, I think it's... I don't know. I think it's like... There's a certain flavor profile that when I'm craving bourbon, I'm just like, I want bourbon.
Yeah. And
I think that comes in waves. And I think that's why I'm always the person to have been like, just kind of drinking the same stuff. Because I don't feel the need to...
You don't get bored?
Right. I don't feel the need to explore more bourbons. It's just I want bourbon as opposed to I want Buffalo Trace or I want Weller or whatever.
Yeah. See, for me, it's not necessarily like I do every now and then go, I would like to change it up a little bit and have a beer or two or a glass of wine or something. But really with bourbon, it's not so much that I get like full on burnt out with drinking it. I do get really burnt out with hunting though. I get it, especially when I see the prices that stores will put up for stuff, because the secondary market, well, not the secondary market, but some stores, they just gouge you like it's like their life depends on it.
Sure.
I mean, And everybody who's listening knows, but for a very specific example, you have something like the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which is supposed to be market value like $110. I've seen it consistently in stores anywhere from $300 to $500.
Jesus,
it's ridiculous. And like it makes me want to go, you know what? Just give me my bottle of Wild Turkey 101.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy.
It's disheartening, right?
Yeah. But like, I mean, I do still enjoy the hunt. I do still enjoy finding stuff that, like, for example, last week, I was on my way to Chad's to record his episode that came out today as we're recording. Last week when this one comes out. Sorry.
Broken timeline.
Yeah. And I just stopped in a store just to, see what they had. I'd never been in there before. And they had this bottle of Yellowstone bourbon from like 2011. They don't make it anymore.
Yeah.
It's a 90 proof version. And like, what they make now is 93 proof. What I'm getting at is that I enjoy stumbling onto things just as much as I do, having something that I consistently enjoy.
Right.
And I will still go and hunt for stuff, but I just get so tired of
yeah. And I think that's natural with anything,
prices.
right? Like
sure,
I'm to the point now where the curation, reviewing all of the aspects of bourbon are sort of a hobbyist point now, where some people just, do it as a consumer. I think it's similar to like, I play games a lot. Sometimes I just get burnt out on games. Not that I don't love the medium, not that I don't, don't want to play games. It's just like nothing really suits my fancy. And that's kind of it. It's like, what is in my library or what is in my, my cabinet or whatever. It's just like, none of this suits me. And instead of going out and trying to find something, spending more money to try to find something that's going to suit me, I just say, you know what, I'm fine.
Give it some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and too much of anything is a bad thing.
Yes.
And, it's just one of those things. You have to kind of accept it as it goes in waves, and it'll come back around to you eventually. Yeah. So, like, when you get burnt out, though, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but what do you gravitate towards instead?
If I'm going to drink, probably beer.
Yeah,
and that's my mainstay anyway. Like, just a beer at dinner. Again, I've not been drinking a lot, probably the entirety of this year, really. But
happy April.
Yeah, Jesus, it is April.
It is April already. Yeah.
I just kind of just go to beer and that's about it. Like I'm not a huge like I'm gonna try tequila. Like I've never owned a bottle of tequila, just because. Why? I'm not.
I don't know if there's really anybody who drinks tequila neat.
Right.
Either.
Of course. Yeah.
You shoot tequila. Yeah. Which I guess is technically drinking it.
Sure. Yeah. Just in small quantities.
Yeah. Like I said too, I'll drink beer if I get kind of burned out on bourbon, but I don't. I can't drink a lot of beer.
Really?
Yeah. I just get so full.
Quantity or over time, like.
Oh, quantity, like in
a setting.
Yeah.
Like you can't drink 6 beers or whatever.
Yeah, and granted, it's not like you should be drinking more than like a couple glasses of anything.
Right.
But I really can't go past like 2 beers. I just get so full.
Yeah.
And especially like if I'm eating while I'm drinking it, it's usually at a bar.
Right.
So it's going to be like heavier foods, not heavier foods necessarily, but
a lot of carbs and
exactly. Yeah. So it's just kind of hard to maintain and manage all of that all at the same time.
Sure.
I said wine. I don't really drink wine too much anymore. I did.
Is that because we dunked on you for drinking wine that one time?
No.
I promise, guys, I don't drink wine anymore.
No, but like. I drink it every now and then, but like I drank it more when I was kind of starting to drink.
An introductory sort of thing.
Yeah, like as I was discovering what I liked, and I still like wine quite a bit. It's just like I'm not. I would rather spend my money on bourbon.
Right. Shock to no one, really.
Yeah, really. As I host a bourbon podcast,
seeing as we're here.
I do like margaritas too.
Oh, me too. Yeah, like pre-made margaritas is great. Like that's what I'm saying. I've never bought a bottle of tequila just to make margs.
Cat had something on her nose. Sorry. What were we saying? Oh yeah. And then like I'm always interested in trying new things. I always say I'll try anything once.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I have a bottle of cognac.
Why?
I got it like as a wedding present. At our Stock the Bar party.
Right.
I think actually my mom and my dad gave it to me. And that's a whole other story too. But like I opened it the other day because I was like, may as well try it.
Yeah, it's here.
And it's really good. Like I'd never had cognac before.
I have no idea what it tastes like.
It's very bourbony. But it's more it has a thicker consistency to it.
Okay.
Bourbon
syrup?
Kinda, yeah. It did very much remind me of like drinking syrup or something, but
sure.
It doesn't have so much of like the earthy tones to it that bourbon does. But it's still good. It's still serviceable. I'll probably have it again in another 2 years.
Yeah. Same bottle.
Yeah, no kidding. So how do you find it? If like you get out of it, or like you're trying to get out of it, how do you find is the best way to do that? Or is it just one of those things where it just kind of happens?
I think it's natural. I think it's more of a, I don't think about. I think, and I don't mean this as like you in any way, but I don't think about bourbon as much as you do. I think.
Sure.
I think it's more of like a. I mean, you're a fiend for knowledge about bourbon.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what sets us apart. But like I can go 2-3 weeks without really thinking like, I want a glass of bourbon.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it'll be like, I want bourbon.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like an occasional thing, like not in the sense of like happens every so often, but like happens on occasions.
Yeah.
On special occasions. So like going out to dinner, I might get a cocktail, and look at their cocktails and be like, oh, I want the old fashioned, and then that reawakens.
Yeah, for sure.
The bourbon spirit.
For me, it's almost like I kind of just have to not force myself to get back into it, but it's like I have to kind of start from the bottom again. And not like I have to go back to. It's not like I'm starting from day one. I'm not starting with like Jim Beam again or anything.
Like KG or something.
Yeah, but like I have to kind of step back from something that might have. I don't want to say had been too much.
Yeah.
But find something that's more standard. Maybe it's Buffalo Trace. Maybe it's Elijah Craig.
Right.
Right. Whatever.
Right.
So it just kind of depends. I mean, it's a matter of like, what kind of burnt out am I?
Situation.
It's all very subjective to the
sure
to the situation. This is gonna be a quick episode, I think.
Well, it's two people. It's less opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming in, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean we're at like 30 minutes and we're both like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find like a little bonus episode or something to do.
Sure.
This week, just to kind of pump things up a bit. That's not the word I wanted to use, but that's all I could think.
Pump it up. Just starts playing some like techno jams.
Love the jams
behind us.
Anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our review for the episode.
The Eve.
Tanner, dealer's choice. What do you want to review? I'm gonna Nose Mill.
Yeah.
Have you had it before?
No.
Oh, dude.
You know why I picked it?
Huh?
You know why I picked it?
Why?
It's got a green bottle.
It does have.
Everybody else has
Have you
clear
noticed
bottle.
that like all
Yeah,
the
you've got a
bottles
very
that-
green
they're
aesthetic
It's a
going
very
on.
green night.
So I picked the greenest of the greens. Because I've heard it's not easy being that bottle.
Thanks, Kermit.
Man, I'm really on like some Jim Henson shit on this
very
podcast.
interesting. Yeah.
Did the Big Bort goof.
That was the last time. Yeah, last time it was just the two of us. You did.
Yeah, then I was very tired.
Sesame
and
Street.
Was loopy. Now I'm just normal tired.
So here's the thing about this bottle of Nose Mill. It's been open for a little while. I'll save that pour for another time.
There is Noah more of Noah's Mill.
So I've had some time to let it breathe and everything. So I don't know if I've ever had it out of a Glencairn before either.
Thanks, of course, to our sponsors, Glenn and Karen.
Glenn and Karen, thank you guys. A couple quick things about Nose Mill before we hop into it. It's a Willet product. It used to be 15 years old. They took the age statement off the bottle, so I think now it's anywhere from like 10 or 11 up to
Not
15
often
years.
you hear the phrase "it used to be 15 years old" in just like any context. It used to be 15, now it's 11. Like,
Yeah.
what? That's not how that works.
So like on the label, now it says this batch of bourbon was aged in wooden barrels until fully mature. It used to be like until like 15 years old.
Well, they can get away with the most vague wording ever there. With
Yeah.
fully mature,
Yeah.
you could say it's 6 months.
I'm gonna do something.
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you what the proof is.
Oh shit! All right.
I want to see what you think about it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Sure. Yeah,
Because
tell me after.
I have a theory, and I'm seeing if I can test this theory.
Okay, I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah. So first off, what do you think about the nose? Because you
It's
made
interesting. It's very watery, I think is a good way to describe it. Like it's not super pungent.
It's not very present.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily watered down, but just like it's like if you had bourbon nose concentrate and you
Sure.
portion it out like you would
Yeah.
orange juice concentrate. Like it got like a little bit of like a wateriness to it.
Do you smell any of like the peanut butter on there? Because I consistently will get nuts or peanut butter.
I don't.
with it.
I get
That's interesting.
butterscotch. I get lots
I
of
can see
butterscotch.
that.
But
Yeah. There's some
no, I don't get peanut
like,
butter.
like grassiness to it too, like the earthiness behind it. But let's find out, shall we?
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think you spoiled me with the Henry McKenna. Because that is
Not a fan? Interesting.
not as the nose would suggest. It is very pungent.
Yeah. No, it's extremely...
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot going on there. For me, like, everything that I was saying with, like, the nuts and everything, they are pretty present.
God, I'm reeling from that one. It's like one of those where you just, like...
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's one of those where you just, like, are sort of taken aback by it. Mm-hmm. Which some people like.
When you say that,
Not for me.
So you don't mean that in a good way, then?
No, yeah, it's not taken aback by the amazement of this bourbon. It's taken aback by just the utter force of it. Like you punch me in my tongue.
Tongue punch.
That's a completely different term. I don't think that's making the final cut. And if it is, kudos.
It's in there.
All right. You used that phrasing, didn't you?
I did. Hey, put the cat down so she can get to her. Just.
Hello. Hi.
She won't get you. She's very sweet.
Hello. Hello. I gave you to your enemy.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, like, it still has a... I always say this, that, like, the standard bourbon palette for me is just caramel, vanilla, and oak.
Yeah.
This takes all of that, and for me, still has, like, the that, like, really prominent, like, nut on it too, and, like, there's some sugariness to it.
It's definitely nutty.
And then, like, there's even something, I don't know what it is, but there's something akin to, like, bubble gum?
I actually know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Here.
Like, I don't know if it's the sugar, because it is very specific, like, Hubba Bubble.
It's more like a gum flavor.
Yeah.
Like a sorghum kind of. Or sorghum, however you say it.
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely there. I just can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, no, it's in the finish for sure.
Yeah.
But like it. Yeah, no, I absolutely understand what you're saying. It's a very faint, but as you said that sort of resonated with me. It's very ethanol-y for me. Like, it's very... And I don't know if that's because of proofage, because you've not told me, but it stings a little bit more than an average bourbon. And not... Again, call me the bourbon barrel baby or whatever.
Baby bourbon boy.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Bourbon baby boy? I don't remember. Go back to the first episode.
Yeah, basic bourbon guy.
That one. That's not it.
That is, to me, and I understand a lot of people seek this out, but to me is an unappealing quality.
Sure.
That it is that strong. Like, I took my first, average size drink. I took a small drink about 2 minutes ago, and I'm not like, I need to take another drink of this.
Yeah.
In fact, it doesn't, like, bother me, but it is a little...
Abrasive?
Yeah, it's off-putting.
I could see that.
In a way.
I can understand that. So if you had to guess at what the proof was, what would you say?
What's the normal proof for a bourbon? I know.
90.
That's what I was thinking. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I think... How high proof was the last one we did, for context?
How high was the Henry McKenna?
No. The last episode. It was really high proofage, right?
Oh, the straight from the barrel. That was like 125.6.
I was going to say like 120. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is probably 110.
You are not far off.
Okay.
It's 114.3.
All right.
And like I here's my theory. My theory is that the more that you cut a bourbon, the more you're getting the alcohol on it, and you're losing the flavor.
Okay.
And like in my experience, I feel like across the board we've gone, oh, it doesn't drink like you would think it would at 125 proof or at 130.
This is really smooth for the proofage. We've said that a number of times.
And like that to me indicates that the balance is better if it's a foolproof, barrel proof, cast strength, whatever
Yeah.
alcohol. So it leads more credence to my desire to drink
Yeah.
foolproof bourbons,
Right.
Because you're getting a better, more well-rounded experience.
I understand
Whereas
that.
where like you have
It's
something
pure.
you have something that's 80 or 90 proof. There's something about it where like the alcohol is kind of competing with the water.
Sure.
The ethanol is competing with the water, and it just makes for a less enjoyable and less well-meshed experience.
I think this
guess.
speaks to both of our tenures, I guess you could say, with bourbon, which is like,
I want to clarify. You said tenure because it almost sounded like you said 10-year.
No, sorry, tenure.
we're both under
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, that would be quite a thing. No, our tenure with bourbon, which is like, you obviously explore bourbon.
Bourbon.
You explore
the bourbon.
You explore bourbon.
Bourbon would be a great name for a blog.
Yeah, it would be good.
Oh, I gotta. No, I gotta stay on brand.
Yeah.
Never mind. Anyway, continue.
But I feel like you explore bourbon more than I do, and therefore you've probably inherently, and I think you drink bourbon more than I do. I think we can both easily say that.
Yeah.
I think that you inherently have built up this. It's like coffee, right? Where it's like
You build up a tolerance.
Yeah, but not in an alcoholic sense, but in like a sorry, not in
You
relation.
called me an alcoholic?
In relation to the alcohol.
I know what you.
Not from an alcohol standpoint, but just from a flavor standpoint. It's like, if you eat or if you drink a lot of coffee, you eventually want the stronger brew.
Yeah.
Similar thing here, where it's like you want
It's okay. Just keep.
the pure experience.
The dog's squeaking her toy at Tanner. Just,
I'm a very squeaky boy.
squeaky sleepy boy.
But yeah, I think it's a similar thing, right? Where it's like I've sort of done more mainstream bourbons, or even if it's like lower proofage bourbons, I've not really explored that, and so for me, this caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And it may be that sort of tolerance to the ethanol flavor, to the higher proofage. I agree with you to a point. I get where it's like, the purer you get, the further down you can taste everything that goes into it standpoint.
Yeah.
For me personally, I don't know. I'm a big fan of like cost assessment, which is we've talked about this ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But like even with this, where it's like, at what point am I willing to take a hit on proofage in order to enjoy the bourbon at a basic level more?
Sure.
I find lower proofages more enjoyable because it's less in your face. Now, granted, we've reviewed stuff on this show that have proved that sort of in flux, which is like, this high proof bourbon does not taste like a high proof bourbon.
Yeah.
But by and large, I would rather just drink like a 90 and just enjoy the evening than like try to challenge myself or try to swing up in a way.
And see, for me, like I'm going to enjoy like the higher proof, regardless. Like you said, enjoy the evening. Like for me, like I'm still gonna have a good night.
Sure, yeah. I'm not saying you're like torturing yourself.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're at different points in our
for sure.
experience.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that like drinking high proof bourbon for me, it's not.
You're not doing it for the drunkenness.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
that.
doing it for the experience, and it's also not like ripping the hair off of my head or anything. Like I really do enjoy the. Tanner does not. That's so funny. As soon as I said enjoy, you winced.
God, it's so strong. It's weird because sorry to interrupt, but like
No, you're good.
It's weird because we've done higher proof bourbons that are not nearly as pungent, and I keep using that word, but like aggressive as this bourbon.
Yeah.
Like this tastes like a 140 or something. I don't even know if that exists, but like
it does.
Okay, it does. It tastes like something way higher than what it is.
Sure.
Like this is almost. I would call this like a shooting bourbon. I wouldn't just drink this straight.
Interesting.
Because it is so high.
I would be really interested to find out how it holds up in a cocktail. Because you're taking a lot of notes that aren't typically found. it's so. I'm gonna use this phrase.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold on to it.
All right.
It's so nut forward.
Of course, yeah.
I'm gonna own that phrase.
Yeah.
It's so nut forward.
No, I get that.
like I'm trying to imagine it in an old fashioned, and I almost can't.
Right. Because that's not a flavor profile you associate with old fashioned.
No, exactly. Like you're going for the fruitiness in an old fashioned, and this to me I want to try it. I want to experiment with it in cocktails. I don't know how it's going to do.
Yeah.
necessarily.
This bourbon is almost to the point for me, and again, my palate is not as vast as yours, but I think I think that for me, this tastes so strong that I would believe you if this was a different type of alcohol. Like if
it weren't bourbon.
Right, like you could have told me this is what Scotch tastes like. I'd be
Interesting.
Like, okay, this is close enough to bourbon that I get the similarities, but this is not bourbon. So
I can see that.
it is unlike any other bourbon I've had, which is a good thing, but it is not good in that respect. It is not what I like from
It's not what you
bourbon.
expect with bourbon.
Yes.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
So this is not going to, I'm going to go ahead and predict it probably correctly. This is not going to rank as high for you as it probably is for me.
No.
So speaking of ranking, for anybody who is new to the show or needs a refresh, we have I feel like every time I say that, I have to take a short little breath before I launch into explaining the system.
The rigmarole. Yeah.
I want to cut of me every time going before anyway. We have a review system of nose, palate, finish, and price. Each category is out of 5, and at the end we tally it up to a total out of 20, and then you know whether or not you should go and buy this bourbon. It's a little more complex than the podcast's system of buy bar pass, but oh well.
Yeah, it's our system. We're sticking to it.
Yeah. Anyway, so Tanner, do you need some time, or are you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. Let's go for it then.
Nose. I'm gonna give it another big.
Sure.
whiff
Yeah.
there.
Do you want me to go ahead and tell you the price, or do you want to wait until you actually get to? Okay.
I don't want that to inform other decisions. So the nose for me, it's fine. It is. I've said that about several noses. I think you
have
my standard of having it as a candle. I don't know.
I look through. I've got the. For all you number nerds out there, I have a spreadsheet of our of our reviews, and consistently, actually, there have only been a couple that you haven't liked the nose on.
Yeah.
Everything else is really fours or fives.
This one's not going to be.
Yeah.
This is a 3. This is just as middle of the road as you can get, right? I'm not going to give it a 2.5 because I never give anything halves. But it's fine. It's not offensive. It's not bad. It's good, but it's not great. I give it a 3. Palate.
This is going to be fun for me listening to this. I'm really interested in what you're
taking another drink.
Okay.
Because I feel like I may have overdrank my first sip. God,
he really just doesn't like it.
It just doesn't sit with me, dude. It makes me cough. You could probably hear it there in my voice.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jesus, that wasn't forced. And it's not okay. I'll say this: it is not bad. It is not a bad flavor. I think at the end of the day,
sure. I just think that what you the way that you're talking about it would indicate that for you it's just too aggressive.
Yes, it's in my face. It's no joke. I know I made the joke earlier. It's a little tongue numbing.
Yeah,
it is very, very ethanol forward for me. So I don't want to say that this is the worst palated bourbon that I've had on the show, which I probably gave a 2. Did I give anything a 1?
You've not given anything a 1 as far as
I'm close to it.
The Old Forester 1920, you gave a 2.
Yeah,
I mean, you even give I
like that we have this.
You gave Jim Beam White Label a 3.
Yeah, that might be a better bourbon.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
As far as just again, I am basic. I understand this, but this is so. It's not an enjoyable experience for me. It's not. I can't recommend this because I don't enjoy it. I understand that some people...
and that's entirely, you know...
Yeah, I understand that this is maybe the bourbon for some people. I get that. It is... I will say this. It is a good bourbon in the fact that no matter what, you're going to have an opinion about it. Yep. This is not a middle of the road. It's fine, whatever.
It's a conversation piece.
Yes. So I think actually, I'm gonna recant me saying it's more worse palate. I think I'm gonna give it a 1.
Wow.
For me, this is just not what I look for in bourbon. Finish is actually okay. The finish is not nearly as aggressive as the initial hit. And that's where I do start picking up on some of the nuttiness, the butterscotch, that kind of flavor. So that is sitting here talking about it tastes way better than the initial drink.
Yeah.
And so, I think the finish is fine. I'll give it a 2. So what's the price?
Okay, so the price on Noah's Mill typically ranges anywhere from like $50 to $60.
Okay.
I know.
Sorry for the pregnant
pause.
pause.
No, it's okay. I know what you're thinking here.
Yeah. Again, I would rather buy. I think this is what I thought about this on the way home the other day. I think the difference between you and Curtis and myself is, I think at the end of the day, I would rather have a cheaper good bourbon than a more expensive great bourbon.
Sure.
Which I know that might sound weird, but
I know what you're saying though.
Yeah, I think that at some point there reaches sort of I guess the top of like a bell curve, right? Where it's like, at this point in particular, this is where my cutoff is.
You have a ceiling.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Or at least where it would take a much better bourbon for me to spend that much money.
Yeah.
$50, $60 isn't that bad as the cheapskate of the podcast. It's not that bad. That being said, I think there are better bourbons at the price. That's an okay price. I'll give it a 3 just for, okay. I understand that for some people that might be a steal. Again, I get that this is some people's bourbon and it's just not mine.
Yeah.
I totally understand that and I get it. What does that give me, like a 9?
It's a 9 out of 20.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
That doesn't surprise me. I am not a fan of this bourbon. And not again, to re-instance once again, I understand that I am not dunking on people if you like this bourbon. Mm-hmm. It is just not my cup of tea. And I think that's okay. I think it's interesting to find bourbons that are like that for all of us. I mean, hopefully there's a bourbon one day that I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. And you're like, no, it's terrible. Because it's interesting, right? And those are the kinds of bourbons you want to show your friends. And it's like,
yep.
What do you think about this? It's so polarizing that's interesting. And that's a big thing right now is polarization. So I think that it's an interesting bourbon. I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah.
I'll never buy it.
I mean, and I just got done giving this my total score and everything. But I will say I talk pretty highly of this, but my final score I don't think quite reflects that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm altering it just a...
No, you're good.
just a little bit. On the nose, I gave it a 4.
Okay.
It's not often that I find a bourbon that I like the nose...
Interesting.
...the most on.
I see.
It's... For me, it's, like, overly pleasant. And I don't mean that...
Like a perfume?
Yeah, in a way.
Where it can get like gaggy.
Kind of like there's so much going on with it that like I almost don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
But I do really, really enjoy the nose. I mean, and like on that note of like a perfume, like if it's the right perfume, I enjoy smelling it.
Yeah.
If it's the right bourbon nose, I also enjoy smelling it.
Yeah.
This isn't the perfect bourbon nose, of course. You know, I mean, I gave it a 4. I didn't give it a 5, but it's definitely up there. Palate, I gave a 3.5.
Okay.
I think that it's just like it's again, it's there. It's just not quite. It could be pushed a little bit higher.
Interesting.
I don't know, and like it does. I've said so many times on the show before, like I just said this episode, it has everything that I look for in bourbon. But that little bit of heat and the nuttiness of it too makes it for me more than just a middle of the road palate.
Gotcha.
Now finish though, I'm gonna give it 2.
Okay.
And the reason I'm giving it a 2 is because it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine, it's serviceable, but it doesn't, there's a weird kind of aftertaste
Yeah.
with it where it sits on my tongue in a very bizarre way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the Kentucky hug in the middle of the chest that I really enjoy with some higher proof bourbons. But the finish is just kind of present, and not really in a good way. So I'm going to give it a 2. And then price, I gave it a 3.5. Again, like it's very unique.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, there's really nothing else like it. I mean, and sure, Willet has other products.
Right.
And honestly, I would be interested in doing like a blind Willet flight.
Yeah.
Between like their actual distillates, like their I can't remember all the names of it. It doesn't matter. But including this in there and seeing what I actually, how it held up against everything else.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to give the price a 3.5. It all things considered, I think that it's not necessarily like justifiable
Right.
with the price.
Right.
But it is something good to have around.
Yeah.
Not just for yourself, but for other people too. So my total comes out to a 13 out of 20. Not bad, not the worst I've ever given anything. The worst I've ever given anything on the show is a 3 out of 20.
What's the worst I've ever given anything?
The worst that you have ever given anything.
3?
I gave in
3 out of 20.
3 out of 20.
What did you give? You gave it a 0 on something?
I gave it a 0 on something.
Was I here for this?
No, you were not.
Okay.
This was with Chad and Sarah.
All right, that's what I
This was the 2017 Old Forester Birthday Bourbon 96 proof.
I remember you talking about this.
Last year they came out with 2 different proofs. They had a 95.4 and then a 96, which is really bizarre. I know.
Yeah, that's weird.
But anyway, so there's something about the 96 to where it's just horrible.
Okay.
I mean, as is evident from my my score. Anyway, the worst that you have given anything. There's an 11. There's a 10. The worst you've given is the Old Forester 1920, which was a 10 out of 20.
Okay.
You gave 2s across the board, except for the nose, which was a 4 for you. And if you
good.
go back and listen to that episode, that's really I think I heard it recently again, and it's really funny because you go like nose is a 4, and that's as good as it's gonna get, or something to that effect, and it just goes downhill from there. Anyway, so my total score was 13 out of 20. Tanner's a 9 out of 20.
It's funny though because I'm going to go against what our score would dictate, and I would encourage people to at least try this. Mm-hmm. Maybe in a bar setting, but
yeah, for sure.
I really do think that this is going to land really nicely for some people. It's just not me.
Yeah, try something before you buy it. I think.
Yes.
Or not always, but I think this is one of those rare cases where you do kind of have to give it a test run before you go full in. Anyway, so that's our review for the episode. We've actually kind of padded this out a little bit more than I thought we were going to.
Well, I got very opinionated about this bourbon.
Yeah, no kidding. So we have to jump into, now that we're done with our review. Mm-hmm. You know what it is.
Tips and bits.
It is tips and bits.
Do we have a jingle for this? Because I really...
No, I want a jingle for it. I need to write a jingle or let somebody else write a jingle for it. I don't know. I do plenty of music writing. I'll let somebody else take the brunt for this one.
Yeah, it's like, hey, design this thing for this person abroad. It's like, that's what I do all day.
Yeah, exactly. Tanner, what are your tips and bits?
I want to recommend a video game that I found recently and it caught me off guard. And it's not like an unpopular game or anything. Actually, I'm going to recommend 2. So there's a game called Subnautica, which is on, I believe, everything. PC, PS4, Xbox One. I don't think it's on Switch, but Switch doesn't count. I say this as someone who owns a Switch. I am not a huge fan of these like aimless exploration games where it's like Ark Survival Evolved is a good example, which is like a dinosaur thing. It's like, we're going to put you in the middle of this island, and you can craft things, and you can capture these dinosaurs, but it's in a server, so if you leave, you might come back and your dinosaurs might be dead, or, when you restart, you lose all your stuff. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that because there's no directive. It's not like,
sure,
do this thing, then do this thing, then do this thing. And I think that's what you need for the player loop to be successful and, feel accomplished. That sort of serotonin to go off.
The way you talk about that reminds me of the Friday the 13th game.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I've not played, but from like everything I've read and heard about it, everybody talks very highly of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Of that. Now, remind me, did you do the box design for that?
So the boxes. So I didn't do the digital art, like the painting. That was That was concept art. The branding was done by the time I got there. The cover was done by the time I got there. But the back...
But you put it together.
Yeah, so I did it for all the countries.
Okay.
So US was pretty much done. We had to change it once we did all the countries to make them all fit. Mm-hmm. But I did the back... If you were anywhere from not from the US, I did your entire cover, basically.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's so cool.
And it's...
Oh, and that reminds... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, you're good.
I have a couple shout-outs I have to give, too.
Wes Keltner, who's lead on the game, director or whatever, I don't remember what his title is. I actually got to interview him for our website, and he was the one who sort of informed me on this player loop, right? So it's interesting that you brought up Friday the 13th.
Yeah, really.
Because that's who I sourced from me saying that. But with Subnautica, it's an underwater game, as the name might suggest, and I have had so much fun streaming it. Twitch.tv/dormstreams.
I need to actually put the link to Dorm Strings.
Yeah,
Dorm Strings.
It's my guitar string. Yeah.
To Dorm Streams in the description. So look for that in this episode's description.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've had a lot of fun streaming it. It's been one of those games where it's like it sets your expectations and then it surpasses it and then surpasses it and then surpasses it. Nice. There have been some really, really cool moments that my 100% genuine shock and surprise have been captured on stream, and I think it's really cool.
That's really awesome.
It's a good avenue for streaming as well because it's like, I'm going to go out and I have to collect, and I may not make the game sound appealing, but it's almost like cast away the game underwater.
Interesting.
That's kind of how I would describe it to someone who's not really familiar with like survival games.
Sure.
It's like, you go out and get this mineral and you need that to make this new thing that'll let you breathe longer underwater, that'll let you dive deeper, and then you need to collect this to do that. Like it's a lot of small tasks making big strides. Mm-hmm. But I find I usually don't like those kinds of games because I don't feel like they have a directive. This says, okay, now do this. Okay, now do this. It seems very not linear, but the path seems clearer to me. And it's more about player choice than aimless exploration.
Sure.
The other game that I want to recommend is called Into the Breach. This is Pacific Rim chess. That's the best description I can give to this.
Interesting.
Into the Breach is made by the same people who made Faster Than Light, which was a pretty big indie game. Another strategy game. But Into the Breach is a strategy game that's set on a board, basically. It's set on a grid system. And you have 3 mechs that you can operate, and each mech has different abilities. And so
Pacific Rim chess.
Yeah, it's a really great description once you see the game. Yeah. It's not intense to run. You can run it on a toaster. Like it's a very low, not low quality, but very like easy to run game. It's not gonna. You could run it on your MacBook. You could probably run on mobile if they could port it. Like it is a very low stakes game, very small game.
Sure.
From a size perspective. It is one of the best strategy games I've ever played. I'm not a huge strategy game guy. So it's kind of the reason I thought of both of these is I took a chance on both of them. Someone gifted me Subnautica and I bought Into the Breach because I loved FTL so much. But I'm not a huge strategy game guy, so I was kind of nervous about that one. Both games took my expectations and said, you may not like these kinds of games, but you're going to like this game.
Yeah.
And I think they're both great, and maybe a lot of people not have heard of them. Sure. Into the Breach, I believe, is only on PC, but I'm not quite sure about that. I could easily see it going to consoles. It's, again, a very easy-to-run game. I've never had like hiccups or anything with it, which I don't with most games. Cool. But both of those games are really interesting, and if you're a gamer, I suggest you give them a try.
Cool. Hopefully there's some kind of crossover with gamers and Bourbon drinkers.
Yeah. There's more crossover that I've seen than you would think.
Yeah, sure. I lost my... Hold on. Sorry. I pulled up one thing. I pulled up 2 different notes so that I had, in place everything. But anyway, my tips and bits. The first thing is Bourbon Taters, or Tater Talks, actually, which is a blog run by Wade Woodard, where he basically kind of breaks down the establishment of people who think that they know what they're talking about with bourbon, but what they resort to is smooth.
Gotcha. The Carlos Santana song.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the hit song from 1999 with Rob Thomas.
Yes, Matchbox 20 fame.
Maybe I'll I actually do like Matchbox 20
a
little bit. I mean, I might throw them into tips and bits someday.
Great song.
Oh, it's a fantastic song. So is 3 a.m. I think 3 a.m. is a much better song than Unwell. Unwell is more popular, of course, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Welcome to Talkbox 20, our Rob Thomas podcast.
That's jeez. 4 episodes in and we've run out of things to talk about.
Nah, he has at least 4 solo albums, I think.
Yeah. So Tater Talks, it's a blog run by Wade Woodard. And basically what he is doing is he's encouraging people to drink smarter and have better conversations around bourbon and whiskey. Right. Instead of just going, oh, it's so smooth. I really like that. Like, he's pushing you to think more about what you're drinking, but he's also working at making sure that everybody's experience with bourbon is more enjoyable,
right,
and better rounded too. And I'm going to use a very specific example. My senior graphic design project is rebranding Wild Turkey,
right?
And I posted a picture of it on Facebook the other day, and he said, "Oh, it says 6 to 8 years on the label. It's not supposed to say that. It's supposed to say the minimum age that goes into the blend." And I was like, "Oh, I never knew about that."
Yeah.
So I mean, he literally took it upon himself to contact Campari and say, "Hey, I'm sure you're aware of this, but you are doing a disservice to the people who are drinking your product,
right, by
mislabeling your product." And there's something almost, it's not chivalrous, but it's just very
like White Knight-ish.
White Knighty is exactly where I was going with it. About just trying to enhance everybody's experience. And if you haven't checked out his blog or some of his work, definitely go and do that, because it's an opportunity not only to support your bourbon community, but also to kind of enhance your experience. I think that's the biggest thing of it. But I'm also going to back off of something a little bit more serious, and I'm going to go with the series of unfortunate events.
Oh, the Netflix series? Okay.
Oh, man, so season 2 came out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I am 2 episodes in. I was a big fan of the show when I was of the books.
Yeah.
When I was growing up.
Right.
And I caught myself so many times watching that show and just grinning.
That's good.
I mean, just being happy that I was seeing something that I had such a love of growing up.
Yeah.
Being represented in such a positive way.
Right.
And it's the same thing with, like, I love Harry Potter. I love the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
I really want to see a Harry Potter TV show, though.
Interesting.
I want to see 7 seasons where each season is each book.
Gotcha.
Because I think that they could...
Sort of the Game of Thrones model.
Sure, yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be HBO.
Right.
It could be Stars. It could be FX. It doesn't matter. But I think that there is something untapped with the Harry Potter series where they could really break down and do a fan service. Do a service to their fans.
Sure.
And I think that's what Series of Unfortunate Events on Netflix has been.
Gotcha.
I've really, really enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
And I'm itching to watch the next episode. It's been it's been a few days. We've been kind of busy. I haven't had a chance to watch the next one or anything, but I'd highly, highly, highly recommend it. We talked about Anderson .Paak so much last episode that like I want to recommend him again, but I think that's already kind of spoken for.
Yeah, it's assumed, right?
But I like very specifically, I'm going to recommend his Tiny Desk concert, just because it's incredible.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, and I mean, just sitting and watching somebody enjoy what they do, so much,
He's infectious.
like he does, and talk about it with such passion and everything. I mean, it is infectious. Yeah, and it makes me want to like not just be better at design or podcasting or whatever, but like as a musician too. It's like, oh, I want that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give one more quick one because you're bringing up Anderson .Paak. There's a rapper who has 2 songs on Spotify named Wynne, Wynne, and she has a song called Catalyst that's 6 minutes, 6-minute rap song, and it's incredible. It was on my Discover Weekly a couple of weeks ago. Cannot stop listening to it. She has some really great bars. She one of her extended, like, I wouldn't call it a verse because there's no chorus in the song, but like one of her extended parts of her song, I guess, is I don't know how to technically talk about music, but it's all about like the quote unquote school of rap she came from. And so she's like name dropping people, but it's so well done. And she's like, the first lyric is like, I'm the baby of Logic and Cinderella. Like that's her first starting thing.
What?
Yeah, and
that's killer.
She does not look anything like you imagine she looks. She looks like every sorority girl in a way.
Interesting.
She also has a lyric that's I'm as thick as a bowl of oatmeal from your nonprofit, which I think is a great lyric. She's really, really, really talented. My gosh. And I'm really excited to see what she does. I think I'm on the ground floor with her because both of her songs came out last year.
Nice.
And Catalyst, the song I'm talking about, came out like December. So I'm excited to see what she does next, but that's a quick little rap recommend.
So those are our tips and bits for this week. Before we jump into where people can find us, I have to give a couple of shout outs.
Okay.
So like I was saying earlier in the episode, we have had an incredible listenership.
Yes.
Recently. And I mean, not just from the United States, which, speaking of the U.S., California, shout out to California because they are the second most downloaded state.
Really?
Behind Kentucky.
Yeah, of course.
And the United States. It's incredible.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, and outside of the United States, I want to ask you on air, what do you think is the the country with the second most downloads?
Australia.
Okay, yeah, it is Australia.
Hey! I have
no prize for Tanner.
I have a couple buddies I play games with who are from Australia and New Zealand. And Bourbon's really big down there too.
Like I've said before, I listen to so many different Australian podcasts.
Yeah.
And there is some kind of crossover there. And so I just want to say a huge thank you not only to the people in Kentucky who are keeping us going.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Kentucky's like carrying us with like 2,600 downloads.
Sure, that's insane.
But Australia and California, holy crap.
Holding us down. That's really interesting.
You guys are killing it. And thank you so much for the commitment that you have to this show so far. I'm not intending to quit this show anytime soon.
Right.
I mean, this is going to go on for as long as podcasting is available.
As long as Perry exists. This is existing in some form of fashion.
I'll be on my deathbed, and I'll be like, bring me a glass of Weller 107, and we're going to do an episode on it.
We're gonna do nose palette finishing price for Pedialyte. And, yeah.
Anyway, it just, we have some incredible people.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Who are listening to this show, and I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody. I mean, I'm really honestly super humbled by the
it's insane.
The reception that we've had so far.
It's hard to conceptualize.
Yeah. With all that being said, if people want to find us on social media, where can they do that, Tanner?
I'm going to plug something different.
Oh no! Okay.
No. This is part of where you can find me. My personal stuff, which I never really tweet from anymore, so I'm not even going to shut that out. At Dorm Streams is where I usually tweet. Instagram, Tanner B. Cheney or Dorm Streams is fine. And then I also have a podcast that I do all the editing for. And this is a lark for me because I just get to talk and I don't have to do any of the hard work. So I know what Perry goes through. Is at Click to Learn More. It's a podcast that I do with my buddy. And we go back and forth telling each other about things we like. So
fun.
One of my episodes was about how there was a conspiracy theory that right after Kendrick Lamar dropped Damn, there was going to be a second album, and I described the entire lineage of that. So that's a really fun thing that I do, and I just want to shout that out. But at Dorm Streams is the best place to find me actually doing things.
By the way, if you want, I want to be on a show too where I don't have to do all the work.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. Like,
this is great. Like, this is awesome. I just go home. I go eat. Like, I don't have to edit anything. I'm gonna go home. I'm literally gonna go home and edit Click to Learn More. So
sure, yeah.
We're gonna be deep in Audacity.
You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I really want to be on some show where I'm not the host of it. I just show up and I'm like, hey guys.
Yeah. Here's my hour, and that's all the time I have to put in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
This is great.
So if you have a show that you want me on for that, let me know. I'll be happy to, be a part of it.
Just don't make me edit it.
Yeah. That's all on you. If you would like to find me on social media, I am at pritter1492. Just about across the board. I can't really think of anything where that's not my handle. If you want to find the show, we are at My Bourbon Shop on Instagram and Twitter. We are on Facebook at This Is My Bourbon Shop and Threadless, where you can find all of our shirts and apparel and accessories. Excuse me. That is bourbonshop.threadless.com. We also have a Patreon account up. If you want to support the show with your money, head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. For as little as $1 a month, you can say thank you with your wallet.
It's weird. Just imagine someone opening their wallet and like muppeting, like, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Frank Oz. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
anyway, give us a rate and review on iTunes too. We've had some really good 5-star reviews, but also a 1-star and a 2-star review with no feedback.
Can I shout out my favorite line from a review?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know who did it now too.
Okay,
and
that's great.
I just want to say thank you to Evan for posting this review.
There's a review, which the title of it is just, I listened, which I think is the funniest, like, most wholesome thing. It's just like, I listened to this. I did it.
Oh, thank you,
it's
Evan.
Cool.
Thank you, Evan, so much for listening and giving us a 5-star review. I think that about does it.
Awesome.
For this episode. Tanner, thank you for hanging out with me this week.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Next week, I'm going to have somebody pretty special on.
Oh.
So
Mr. Bourbon himself?
Mr. Bourbon himself.
Is Mr. Bourbon going to make an appearance?
Kentucky S Bourbon.
What does the S stand for?
Straight.
That's good.
See?
Yeah, you were ready. Good
Content.
Yeah.
So be sure to tune in for that. We really, again, appreciate everybody who listens.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys are awesome. Rate and review, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. But until we see you next week, I'm Perry.
I'm Tanner.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.